back. Right. Sorry. Let's try and move this. Move a bit quicker through this. Sorry. Never talk with your mouth full. Which I'm doing. Okay. Alright, next one. B. Use of theoretical concepts, sources, and data or data. There is sufficient primary research. Alright, to get sufficient primary research, you need what I would say is advised is 30 questionnaires. If you can do it with staff and customers or staff and students, that would be great. But ultimately, it all depends on, is it going to help you answer the question set out in your report? There is sufficient secondary research. I talked about that in the last video. Really, the financial documents are the key secondary research, but any articles that can back up some of your points would help. So for example, if you're suggesting the business should introduce something to maybe increase motivation or productivity, there might be a study done online. Sorry, I have to take a drink of water. Might be a study done online that that backs up, that the introduction of product X or whatever it is that you're suggesting will improve motivation and productivity of staff. So if you can find something like that helps you back it up, that's great. Sources of data have been clearly identified. I'm sure you'll all do this. Just identify the sources. Relevant theory is applied to the organization under investigation. Okay, let's go back to the example again. Alright, so this was the action plan and the research proposal. Alright, front cover now. So you got the question, blah blah blah, main essay, 1 word under 2,000 words, convenient, research proposal 5 words under it, executive summary 200, you don't want it any more than 250. So we all need this front cover when you're handing in the final IA. And after that, the acknowledgements. I would like to thank myself. That's not me thanking myself, that is the student thanking me, I must say. It's nice to see. But as I've said before, don't go over the top in thanking me on paper. Thank me with physical gifts, but not on paper. You don't want it to seem as if I did it for you. One of the 3 partners, Mr. X, the mysterious, for his time and patience, and ultimately all the employees and customers who were willing in contribution to my research. So something as short and sweet as that, because ultimately you want to show that the majority of this was yourself, but you want to be thanking people along the way. Contents page. Yeah, try and make it as good as that. So with the appendix, give each separate one, page numbers as well. And the executive summary, so what you were planning on doing, what question you're investigating, what research you did and found, conclusion of your research, or the conclusion to the question, and then any recommendation on what else could be done in terms of research. Alright, introduction, brief introduction about the history of the company. You'll notice as we go through, most points are being referenced through footnotes here. So history of the company comes from here, from the website. It's okay to use the same source again and again. Obviously we want overall by the end of the IA to have a good range of sources. Even things like here in the introduction, in total the company uses 100 pieces of specialized machinery. Well, where did they get that from? There's a footnote 4, see Appendix 12, interview with partner. Okay, so if we went down to Appendix 12, interview with partner, somewhere. Okay, to date we have 100 pieces of specialized machinery. Bang, there's the evidence. So everything is backed up with evidence. So when it comes to the criterion of referencing, it's going well so far. In fact, I'll add an S in front of that. It's going swell. The factory employs 500 employees, etc., etc., blah, blah, blah. Factory made revenue of, etc., 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 etc. So this was found, see profit and loss account balance sheet in Appendix 13. Alright, rationale, again, you do need to put that again. So why you are carrying out the investigation. Now the procedure and methodology. So this is different to the procedure and methodology in the action plan. Here you were saying what was actually carried out. In the action plan you were saying what you plan to carry out. Now here you might show a difference in the primary research that was carried out and the secondary research that was carried out. So you need to show that difference. Here it says questionnaires to 30 customers. Now in the action plan, what they should have done was say how many customers they planned to ask or to give the questionnaire to, how many staff they planned to ask. And then here in this section, in the procedure methodology of the main report, you'll say whether that number was achieved or what the actual number was that was achieved compared to the planned number. So here they've got a good range of primary research, they've got an in-depth interview, they've got questionnaires with the workers, a good amount, 27, and 30 customers. Secondary research, balance sheet, profit and loss, investment appraisals, efficiency ratios, maintenance costs, and the internet. So the costs of the introduction of the new machine, they researched that themselves. The internet was used to receive information concerning the furnishing industry and details. What they needed there was a bit more detail as to what the source was from the internet, or put a footnote to the source. In all, the research provided relevant information to construct a SWOT and Lewin's force field analysis. Okay, again you see a wide range of research there backing it up. Limitations of the research, this was important. What went wrong? Close relationship with Mr. X, hopefully not too close, may have caused biased interviews, only one partner interviewed, narrow perspective may result. Yeah, that's a good point. You want to try and get more than one interview, but if you don't, it's not necessarily going to mark you down, but you want to be putting it as a limitation of the research. Certain financial figures are simply estimates. This may affect validity of the conclusion. So things such as Student X's predictions with the sales and the productivity of the new machine are predictions, but they are based on some research. Alright, so the next section, the main findings. You want to just sort of list the main findings. There is no analysis of these findings. So, for example here, most of the calculations, so the output of the dining chair is calculated to increase by 20%, thus meaning daily and annual output will increase by 2 and 730 units respectively. So, you see the footnotes. If you go to Appendix 5 and Appendix 12, you'll be able to see where they got those figures from. It's not up to you at this point to analyze those figures. You're just listing the main findings. So you want to do the main workings out in the appendix. So if we go, to appendix 5. Yeah. Let's quickly race, we're not time. Appendix 5. Oh, I'm lost now. Oh, there we go. It's gone. There it is. No, gone. Gone. There. Right. Here was the workings out. Okay. So you want to do that in the appendix so that you're not wasting the word count, and you just want to sum up that main finding. So anything in here is a main finding that has been worked out or summarized from your research that is going to help you analyze your question in the IA. Okay. And also important is to use illustrative material such as graphs, pie charts, etc. to help show the main findings more clearly. Again here, column graph displaying the output if they bring in a new machine. So remember, the whole IA here is about should they or should they not bring in a new machine. So every main finding here is helping to answer that question. So here we're listing the results of the customer's views on the current quality, which is going to be useful to help see whether quality could be improved, and therefore should they bring in a new machine. The manual labor's view on quality. So you see what they're doing here, they're summarizing the main findings from the interview, the questionnaires with the laborers, the questionnaires with the customers. They're summarizing all of this information that was carried out in their research and summarizing it into a main findings section so that every point is helping to answer the IA question. Again, how demotivated would you be if we brought in the new machine? That's going to be a talking point of bringing it in. It's going to be a decision point. How or would you welcome the introduction of a new machine? Yes, no. If the current machine breaks, how demotivated do you get? It's sad, but if the machine breaks, some of them are becoming motivated here. But again, that helps to show how interested the staff are. And then here's summarizing the main findings from the interview. Okay, just using a couple of quotes. You can even cut this down even more. You don't even have to quote. You could just summarize in bullet points the main findings from the interview and just refer to them with a footnote if the examiner wants to see where this bullet point was found in the interview. Okay, so they're summarizing the main findings from that interview that helped them answer the question. What they didn't do, before we move to the analysis, what they didn't do in this section is summarize the main findings from internet research that may have looked at competitors or may have looked at studies or articles on the machine that they were trying to introduce. They should have summarized some of that information as well. So at this point we're at 13 minutes 32 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5. So again we're running out, we're reaching that 15-minute limit. You can have longer than 15 minutes on YouTube, but you have to pay for this. So any donations would be greatly accepted, and we could just do a nice flowing video. So we've got 1 minute left here. I'm not going to run out the clock again because I felt like last time it was too much of an awkward silence and we're running out of time.